What is it that you want to do that expresses your culture that you are currently unable to do?
I'm not be able to fly my flags.
Before we jump in, tell me where you're tuning in from. And remember to like and subscribe. Your support helps the channel grow and keeps these stories coming. We've all heard the talking points by now, from Nigel Farage, from Reform UK, from the same small group of voices shouting ever louder. We're losing our country. It's an invasion. Everything familiar is under threat. These lines get repeated so often that for some people, they stop sounding like opinions and start feeling like facts. But here's the real test. What happens when someone who genuinely believes all of that doesn't just shout it online, but actually calls into LBC? What happens when those claims are no longer protected by social media algorithms, but instead meet calm questioning, evidence, and reality? This call is exactly that moment. A collision between rhetoric and facts, between emotion and scrutiny. And it's fascinating because you can hear the confidence at the start, the certainty, the sense that the argument is unshakable. And then, step by step, that certainty starts to wobble when it's asked to explain itself. There's no grandstanding here, no shouting match, just questions, simple ones. And sometimes that's all it takes to expose how thin the story really is once you strip away the slogans. So let's watch this together. Listen carefully to how the language changes as the call goes on. And once it's over, I'll break down why this exchange perfectly captures the gap between how these arguments sound and how they actually hold up under pressure.
Let's return now to our discussion about the party conferences and what we took away from them and whether they moved our dial at all. Gary has called from Alton. What would you like to say?
Yeah, it's, well, I was going to say, the reason why I voted Reform, and I'm a Reform member now, is because I just want my country back, and I think Reform are going to win, if you want me to say that. Is the reason why that is because I'm losing my culture, and my child at school is being intimidated by people in the sense of he's losing his identity, it feels like, and we just feel lost in the system.
What is it that you want to do that expresses your culture that you are currently unable to do?
I'm not be able to fly my flags in the garden and things.
You can fly your flag in the garden.
Not really. The council told me to put it down.
In your garden?
Because I had two at the back, but the one at the front was quite a big one, and they're saying that's not allowed. I mean, it's not big. I mean, it's bigger than two windows, but
right.
At the end of the day, look, I'm not a racist, but I do, because I go get takeaways and that, and I speak to people in the shops. I'm not racist, but at the end of the day, I just feel that we've been pushed out our own people, and it needs, Nigel Farage sounds like he knows what he's doing.
Okay, other than, I'm really intrigued by this, other than flying a flag that the council deemed to be inappropriately large, how else do you feel that you are not allowed to express your culture right now?
We're not allowed to, in the sense of, we're not allowed to, we just feel like the churches and things are being over by the mosque. We feel that we are actually
Do you go to church every Sunday?
I do sometimes, but the thing is, at the moment, we just feel that everything is being stopped or pushed around us. We can't actually. But
you can go to church, can't you? Because you said that you do go to church sometimes, so you have that option.
Sometimes, but like I said, at the end of the day, I feel the money even in our pockets, jobs and stuff, benefits are being pushed tightened because of this. They're coming in. They said Nigel Farage said invasion. He used the word invasion.
Yes, he did, and that's very incendiary language. But you know that the majority of people who choose to come to this country, they contribute more than they take out. The majority of people who come here as immigrants work, and consistently in studies have been shown to contribute more than they take.
Nigel Farage says that they are taking our jobs, and they are going to, if we keep letting it happen, there's 79 million in this country. We're going to be overrun, and there's going to be no more, even the conservative white faces left.
Well, I mean, if immigration continues at its current rate, the most liberal projections, so that the most exaggerated projections, say that by 2060 there may be 10 million Muslim people who live in this country, in a population of almost 80 million. So that's still only 1 in 8 people. There would still be plenty of white Christian faces amongst the 7 in 8.
Right, well, I don't know about that, but I mean, on the TV it sounds like we are being overrun for what he's saying. He's a good talker, he knows what he's talking about in the sense of he's one of us, and he's a normal person, if you know what I mean. He's not like...
Nigel Farage earned £1 million last year alone through second jobs on top of his MP job. Do you think that makes him a normal person?
Well, he didn't go to Eton, did he? He didn't go to Eton.
He went to Durham, which not Durham. He went to Dulwich College, which is a little bit like Eton, but not quite as posh, but only one echelon down. It's certainly not a bog standard comp.
You wouldn't see Nigel Farage like Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer doesn't seem to be doing anything, does he? To be fair.
I'm not Keir Starmer's biggest fan. But I don't think that Nigel Farage would be better for this country. I think it's very easy for him to promise things. He promised, didn't he, that if we Brexited, immigration would go down, whereas actually it has increased. And it also took us out of the Dublin Convention, which meant that we couldn't send the boats that are coming across the Channel. We did have a reciprocal agreement before Brexit, which meant that we were able to send those boats back to France, but we lost that because of Brexit. So because of something that Nigel Farage was a key architect of, we have seen immigration increase. So that doesn't give me a lot of faith in anything that he says, really.
I mean, you sound a lot smarter than me. I mean, I'm not clever like you, but at the end of the day, I just know that facts is facts, and if somebody's talking away, Farage does, and Lee Evans, what's his name, Lee from Ashfield. He sounds
Lee
like
Anderson.
He's a normal person. You know what I mean? He just sounds like somebody who's struggling and somebody that wants to get on the ladder, and everyone else is being, pushed away from other people coming in and stuff. I mean, I'm not going to go at everyone.
No, I know you're not. I think maybe there's a thing about accents here. I mean, I went to state school. I came from a low income family. I feel like as a woman, a working class woman, I've had to work pretty hard to get where I am today. And I really don't have an agenda other than wanting things to be better and more equal for everyone. So all I would ask you, Gary, is just to have a think about some of the things that I have said today.
No, I will do. I mean, again, I can see you're a woman of colour, aren't you? So if Farage did get in, then that could be a problem for you as well, I guess.
Yeah, for me and my family, but it's not just about me. It's about the fact that I'm not sponsored by anyone. I'm not paid by anyone. I don't go to dinners with lobbyists or accept bribes from the Kremlin like former members of the Reform Party have been proven to do. I just want things to be better for everyone, and I promise you that is absolutely true. So Gary, thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you for your call.
Great. Natasha handled that brilliantly. What you just watched was an example of how weak arguments unravel when they're forced out of slogans and into specifics. She didn't lecture him. She didn't mock him. She simply slowed the conversation down and asked him to explain himself, and that's where everything started to collapse. Notice her method. When he said he was losing his culture, she didn't argue with the emotion. She asked a calm, surgical question. What is it you want to do that you're currently unable to do? And suddenly the abstract panic had to turn into something concrete. Out came the examples. A dispute with the council over an oversized flag, and a vague sense that churches are somehow being replaced. Once those claims were spoken out loud, they couldn't survive even basic scrutiny. They weren't evidence of cultural erasure. They were everyday planning rules and feelings that had been inflated into something much darker. And then came the moment that really mattered, when his image of his political hero shattered. Gary described Farage as a normal person, one of us, and Natasha calmly punctured that myth with a few simple facts. A man earning around £1 million a year, an elite private education, a lifestyle far removed from the people he claims to represent. The carefully crafted man of the people persona suddenly looked exactly like what it is in a performance. A brand, a costume worn because it works. She didn't stop there. She exposed the central contradiction at the heart of Brexit. Farage promised lower immigration, but the reality? Immigration rose, and worse for his argument, Brexit dismantled the very system, the Dublin Convention, that allowed the UK to return asylum seekers to France. The problem he complains about today is directly connected to the project he championed. And the caller, like so many others, had never been told that part of the story. By the end, you hear something that comes up again and again in these calls. You're a lot smarter than me. There's no anger, no shouting, just a quiet acknowledgement that the argument didn't survive contact with facts. And yet, here's the uncomfortable truth. He will almost certainly walk away, still believing what he believed before. Not because the facts weren't clear, but because belief has become emotional, not rational. That's the real issue here. People like Gary aren't evil or malicious. They're searching for certainty. They want a hero. They want someone to tell them who's to blame and promise simple fixes. And figures like Farage are very good at filling that role, even though, in reality, They have no intention of improving life for the poorest or most vulnerable. Mark this moment. Come back to it in a few years. If Farage ever holds real power, the lives of people like Gary will not be better. Not wages, not services, not housing. Because grievance politics feeds on disappointment, it doesn't solve it. That's the reality this call quietly exposes. If you have watched this video up to this point, make sure you do well to press the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on our upcoming videos.